There is a jar in my icebox that no cat food company wants you to see. It costs about $2 to fill. And what is inside that jar is the reason my barn cats are still catching mice at 14 and 15 years old, while my neighbor's indoor cat needed heart medicine at 7. So why does not one bag of cat food on the store shelf ever tell you what is really inside that jar? My name is Miriam Stoltzfus. I am Amish. I keep 9 barn cats and 1 house cat on our dairy farm in Lancaster County, and I have not paid a vet bill for a sick cat heart in 11 years. That is not luck. That is a $2 piece of raw liver, cut the size of your smallest fingernail, dropped into a dish every single morning before the sun comes up. I did not always know to do this. 6 years back, my house cat, a gray Tom named Samuel, went from chasing string across the kitchen floor to laying flat on the porch boards, not wanting to move, breathing a little too hard for a cat just resting. My husband thought it was his heart. So did I. We do not call the vet for every little thing out here, but a cat that will not get up is a cat you take seriously. The vet in town listened to his chest and said the word I did not want to hear. His heart muscle was stretched out and weak, a thing she called cardiomyopathy, and she asked me what I was feeding him. I told her, a bag of cat food from the feed store, the same kind everybody on our road buys, plus whatever he caught in the barn. She asked if I fed him anything with real meat in it, fresh, not from a bag. I did not. She told me cats need something called taurine, an amino acid, and that heat and processing can strip it clean out of dry food. Some companies add it back in a lab-made form, some do not add back enough, and some cats, especially the ones that do not eat much, end up short. She told me the fastest, cheapest way to fix it was real organ meat, liver specifically. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. I went home that night and cut a small piece of raw beef liver off a roast my husband had brought from the butcher and gave it to Samuel before bed. I did that every morning for 6 weeks. On the follow-up visit, the vet listened to his chest again and told me his heart had started to pull itself back into shape. Not every case turns out that way. Hers did. That is the day I started paying attention to what was really in that dish, instead of just trusting the picture on the front of the bag. Here is what most folks get wrong, and it is not a small thing. A cat is not a small dog. A dog can live on plant protein and grain and do just fine. A cat cannot. A cat is what folks call an obligate carnivore, meaning her body is built head to tail to run on meat and only meat. She needs taurine, and unlike a dog, her body cannot make enough of it on her own from other proteins. She has to get it from what she eats every day in a steady supply. Miss it long enough and her heart muscle stretches and thins, the same as what happened to Samuel. Miss it longer, and it can take her eyes too, because taurine keeps the back of the eye healthy as well as the heart. This is not folk talk. This is settled science, known since the 1970s and confirmed hard in the 1980s, when a researcher out at the University of California named Dr. Quinton Rogers started noticing cats on certain commercial diets going blind, then studied why, and traced the whole problem back to low taurine. His work is a big part of why every major pet food company was forced to change its formula and start adding taurine back in during the years that followed. That single discovery likely saved more cats than any medicine sold before or since. And it came from paying close attention to what a cat's body actually needs, not from a marketing department. So why is a bag of food that claims right on the front to be complete and balanced still able to leave a cat short? Because taurine breaks down under heat. The extrusion process that turns wet ingredients into dry kibble runs hot, and hot processing cooks a good deal of the natural taurine right out of the meat before it ever reaches your cat's bowl. Companies know this. That is why you will see synthetic taurine added back into the ingredient list, sitting near the bottom of the label, in an amount decided by a formula written for the average cat. not by what your particular cat's body is doing that week. A cat that is sick, stressed, pregnant, nursing, or just naturally poor at holding on to taurine can still come up short, even eating a bag that technically meets the legal minimum. Here's the part that made me angriest when I learned it. A company is not allowed to sell you a bag of raw organ meat and call it a complete cat food without running it through testing, formulation, and government approval that costs more money than most small operations can afford. That is why you will almost never find raw liver sitting on a pet food shelf plain, the way a butcher would cut it for you. It is not that raw liver is unsafe to feed your own cat at home. It is that turning it into a packaged, shelf-stable product with a guaranteed label is expensive and slow, so most companies never bother. So the big companies lean on cooked, processed, shelf-stable food instead. And they patch the taurine gap with a lab additive, and they call the whole thing complete. Meanwhile, the richest, most natural source of taurine on earth for a cat, real organ meat, sits in the butcher case 2 aisles over from the pet food, cheap, plain, and mostly ignored by everybody pushing a cart past it. That is the trick right there. The most complete food for a cat's heart is not locked behind a fancy label or a $40 bag. It is the $2 cut of liver most people walk right past on their way to the pet food aisle. Now, let me show you exactly how I do this at home so you are not left guessing. Start at the grocery store or your butcher's counter. Chicken liver or beef liver both work well. Chicken liver runs about $2 a pound most weeks. Beef liver is close behind, sometimes even cheaper. Buy it plain. Nothing seasoned, nothing marinated, no onion or garlic mixed in anywhere, because onion and garlic are true poison to a cat, even in small amounts, even cooked down soft. Plain liver only, nothing else in the package. Once you get it home, cut it into small pieces, about the size of your thumbnail, and lay the pieces out on a plate or tray so they are not touching one another. Slide that tray into the freezer for at least 3 full days before you feed any of it to your cat. This step matters more than people think. Freezing at a hard, cold temperature for 3 days kills off parasites that can live in raw meat. The same precaution folks who eat raw fish for sushi rely on at any good restaurant. Skip this step and you are taking a risk you do not need to take. 3 full days in the freezer, then it is safe to use. After the 3 days, take out only what you need for the coming week and keep the rest in the icebox, not sitting out on the counter. Each morning, cut 1 piece down further to about the size of your cat's own smallest claw. For an average size cat, somewhere around 10 pounds. A bigger cat can have a piece closer to the size of a whole thumbnail. A smaller cat or a kitten should get less, maybe half that size. And a kitten under 6 months should really only get a taste, not a full piece, since a young body handles vitamin A differently than a grown one. This is not a meal. This is a daily top-up, 1 single bite, dropped right into the regular food dish alongside whatever else your cat already eats. Do this every single morning, same time, same small amount. Do not feed a large piece of liver all at once, thinking more is better. And do not save up a week's worth and give it all in one sitting. Liver is loaded with vitamin A. And while a cat needs vitamin A, too much of it built up in the body over time can cause real harm to bones and joints down the road. The trick is a small amount daily, not a large amount occasionally. Small and steady beats big and rare every single time with liver. Keep the dish clean too. Wash it out each morning before you put the new piece in, the same as you would wash your own plate. Raw meat left sitting in a dirty dish for hours in the heat of summer is not doing your cat any favors. So if she does not finish it within 30 minutes or so, take it up and try a smaller piece the next day instead. Some weeks, I rotate in canned sardines, packed in water instead of liver, just to keep things varied and to give the cat something they seem to genuinely look forward to. A small tin runs about $1.50 at most any grocery store, and sardines carry their own good dose of taurine, along with oil that keeps a coat glossy through the winter months. Always check the label for plain sardines in water, never in oil packed with garlic or heavy seasoning, and always check for loose, small bones, which are soft enough in canned sardines to not be a worry. unlike a bone from a larger fish. One small sardine mashed with a fork makes a fine stand-in for the liver on the mornings I am short on time. If raw is not something you are comfortable handling in your own kitchen, there is a second path that gets you most of the way there. Freeze-dried liver treats, the plain single ingredient kind with nothing else added to the bag, work almost as well because the freeze-drying process does far less damage to the natural taurine than hot extrusion does. Look at the ingredient label yourself and make sure liver is the only thing listed on it, nothing else. Crumble a piece the same size as I described and use it the same way. Once a day, same time, same small amount. While you are at it, take a minute to look hard at whatever bagged or canned food you keep as your cat's everyday base. Turn the bag around and read the first few ingredients. You want to see a named animal source right at the top. Chicken, beef, salmon, something specific. Not a vague word like meat meal or animal byproduct, which can mean almost anything, and often means the cheapest scraps a plant had on hand that week. A food with a named meat first and a taurine source listed is doing more of the work for you already. And the liver or sardines you add each morning become a top-up on a decent base, not a patch on a poor one. I am not asking you to throw out what you already feed her. I am asking you to read the bag once, honestly, and know what is really in it. Watch your cat over the following weeks. A coat that was dull will often start to shine again within a month. A cat that seemed a little slow to play will often perk back up and start chasing things again. These are not medical claims I am making lightly, and I am not a vet. They are simply what taurine sufficiency tends to look like from the outside in an animal whose body finally has what it needs to run the way it was built to run. One thing more before I move on. If your cat already has kidney trouble or any condition your vet is actively managing, talk to that vet before you start adding organ meat. Since kidney and liver issues sometimes call for a diet built around different limits than what I am describing here for an otherwise healthy cat. This is a good general practice for most cats. It is not a rule that overrides a vet who already knows your particular cat's chart. One more piece, because I promised myself I would say this plainly, and I mean to keep that promise. If your cat is already showing signs like Samuel did, breathing hard, laying flat, not wanting to move or eat, that is not a job for a $2 piece of liver on its own. That is a job for a vet, right away, today, not next week. What I am telling you here is how to keep a healthy cat from ever getting to that point in the first place, and how to support a recovering cat alongside real veterinary care, not how to replace a vet when your cat is already in trouble. Here is the bigger truth underneath all of this. We did not figure this out because we are smarter than a pet food scientist sitting in a lab somewhere. We figured it out because we could not afford to lose a good barn cat to something we did not understand. And because we never stopped feeding our animals the way our grandparents did, straight from the same butcher counter we shop at ourselves every week of the year. A cat's body has not changed in 10,000 years. It still runs on meat, plain and real, the same as it always has. The bag on the shelf changed around her. The cat did not. My own barn cats eat mice, table scraps, and one small piece of liver a morning. And the oldest of them, a torn-eared calico we call Patches, is going on 15 years old this coming spring, still climbing into the haymow after anything that moves too fast in front of her. Every morning before the sun is fully up, I walk out to the barn with that same small dish. And by the time I reach the door, most of them are already sitting in a row on the fence rail, waiting. Because a cat learns a routine faster than most people give her credit for. That is not an accident, and it is not luck either. That is 11 years of paying close attention to what actually goes into the dish instead of trusting a picture of a happy cat printed on the front of a bag. Samuel is still with us too, older now, a little gray around the muzzle, still sleeping in the sun on the same porch boards where he once lay too tired to lift his head. He does not know that a $2 piece of liver most likely gave him back the years he has had since. I know it, and now you do too. So here's what I want you to do tonight, not next week, not once you get around to it. Go to the store or your butcher and buy 1 pound of plain chicken liver or beef liver. It will cost you about $2, maybe a little more, depending on where you live. Cut it into small pieces. Freeze it for 3 full days. And this weekend, start giving your cat one small piece each morning, about the size of her own smallest claw. Watch her coat over the coming weeks. Watch her energy. Give it a full month before you decide whether it made a difference, because a body this small takes time to show what has changed inside it. Tell me in the comments below how old your cat is right now and what you have been feeding her. And come back in a few weeks and tell me what changed, if anything did. I read every single one of these, and I mean that. Next time, I want to show you what we do out here for a cat that has picked up worms, using one thing most people pull straight out of their garden and throw on the compost pile without a second thought. Because it worked for my grandmother's cats long before there was ever a pill for it, and it still works just as well now.